that we have sort of like intellectualized our incredible primal instinct to the nth degree. Now it's like sensory play is some like kink certificate that you need to get. It's like, no, if you've ever smelled a person and been like, damn, you smell good, like you do sensory play.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another IG Live with My Sex Bio. Today we're going to be joined by Jet Setting Jasmine. Thank you so much for joining us today. So for those who are starting to trickle in, this is Jet Setting Jasmine, and she is a licensed clinical therapist who focuses her work intimacy post-injury and post-illness, and she's not only an experienced adult entertainer, educator, master fetish, she and her partner King Noir are also the founders of Royal Fetish Films, and they're working really hard to change the future pornography to a more ethical one. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I wanted to talk a little bit, and you have so many things on your plate. I seriously admire you. My hats off. My first question I want to talk about a little bit is in the realm of, so this month we're talking about sex and the senses with bio, and a lot of our research relates to kink and fetish and the idea of sensation, sensory play. And I wonder what your experience has been in these different communities that you're a part of, what sensation play looks like.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sometimes like we put way too much weight, like, oh, this is some like unlock the secret. We've been doing sensory play our whole lives, even with ourselves, right? Like what type of touch is soothing to you? What type of touch brings you pleasure? Not even thinking about a partner and then on that a kinky partner or group sex or anything, just like you and yourself. Thinking about like masturbation. Do you like a candle on? You know, if so, what is that candle for? Is it for your visual? Is it for the warmth that signifies? Is it the crackling sound of the wick? Is the smell of the candle? Sensory play, those type of things where you're trying to perhaps entice or seduce someone by paying extra care to their senses. How do I want this person to smell me for the first time, right? Or maybe the 50th time. Will he notice if I have a different scent? Can I do my hair differently to be visually appealing to this person? So we are always in tune with using our senses to attract, to be or to be attracted to other people. So I think that we have sort of like intellectualize our incredible primal instinct to the nth degree that now it's like sensory play is some like kink certificate that you need to get. It's like, no, if you've ever smelled a person and been like, damn, you smell good, like you do sensory play. So I just want to first normalize it in that way. And then of course, if you want to get a little bit more in depth, I'm happy to.
Yeah, that's a super good point. I hadn't even thought about every day your senses are working constantly, like not even in a sexual setting. And so the fact that like when you move into a sexual setting, it doesn't have to become this more intentional thing. You're always doing it. I hadn't even thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah. And how do you see but then when we move into a more like mindful or conscious use of our senses, do you see that as like a tool that we can use to enhance our experience?
Definitely. I think what you just said, for the most part, we're using our senses mostly on autopilot or not realizing like having intention behind it. But like anything else, if we have intention behind it, it makes that tool so much more useful, and you're going to most likely get the outcome that you're hoping for probably sooner, right? So putting intent behind anything is going to have an impact, right? So what this looks like in play in terms of being intentional for me is like having a conversation with the person that I am trying to perhaps like dangle a new piece of, I don't know, a shiny carrot, like first I need to find out what their senses are. How do they respond intimately to the things that we mention? And it may say it may be a conversation with, whether it's just a regular partner or a kink partner, like how does your body, how do you tend to respond to pleasure? Where do you see yourself being turned on? Is it usually at first sight, or is it scent? Is it touch? What's really important to you to kind of get into your groove? I mean, I'm just like using language that I don't know how y'all talk to your partners or potential partners. I'm pretty straightforward. Other things are, asking things like let's just say, when you're alone, how do you get aroused? Where are your erogenous zones? What turns those on? Those kind of questions get people talking about their senses in ways that they may not have made a connection. It's like, well, to get turned on, okay, person visual, you know, so I may interact with their senses by sending them pictures, or, and they may say like, well, I watch porn, but actually like, I don't watch it. I just keep the sound on. Ah, so this person is an auditory, you know, or like, I don't get turned on by porn. I really need touch. Okay. So while I'm flirting with this person, I may like say, you know what I'm talking about, you know, like that, so like not, we're making a connection. So in having a conversation, we can start to hear what senses people respond to naturally. Then we could take it up a level and saying like, I'd like to introduce you to others, you know, other types of play. That might mean putting on headphones and having sex and seeing how much when you senses in one area, it enhances the feelings in other areas, right? So I see that you're really, really turned on visually. What if I took your vision away and we found other ways to turn you on? Maybe this means that you're going to have an extended period of play with this person because you're not going for their go zone. So sometimes even when we're talking about senses, I love in my kink play is sensory deprivation, taking your senses away so that way I can make you last longer. And when I'm saying make you last longer, not necessarily from an orgasmic standpoint, but like you are anticipating, oh, this person likes touch. Why isn't she touching me? Why isn't she touching me? Okay, that was breath, but when is she going to put her hands on me? You know, like just extending that anticipation can be so valuable in our play. So even when we're thinking about senses, we can think about sensory overload. We can think about balancing the senses, and we can also think about sensory deprivation, taking away from one area to enhance the other.
I love that. And how does, or maybe it doesn't, but do you see it playing a role in supporting your work as a therapist, an intimacy specialist post illness and post injury?
Oh yeah, for sure. And illness. I did spend quite a bit of time in long-term care and hospice. And that to me is the most intuitive work around sex and sexuality, because post-injury, post-illness, if you're struggling with intimacy, it means that something took away your ability to engage in a way that you used to. So, you know, we are already starting off with not relying on what's familiar. So being able to say, well, now your partner no longer has their limb. So touch has been eliminated from your intimacy now, at least, you know, by hand, right? How else could we engage this person? How else can we involve pleasure? And it may mean like making a succulent dessert for that sweetness and that, you know, and sitting with you while you're enjoying it and asking, are you tasting all the flavors? Are they going down your throat? How does that make you feel? Seeing your face light up and have pleasure is making me feel pleasurable, and helping couples like access these points that they weren't using before because they didn't have to, because we had our, you know, easy peasies, come grab, you know, turn you around, smack it, and we're good. And so a lot of couples, although dealing with incredible challenges around illness and injury, were able and have been able to say, like, although this is not ideal, I learned more about my partner, intimate ways, and even have our genitalia access to our hands in life. How can I still show intimacy? Well, maybe it is lighting that candle and reminiscing, you know, and saying, that smell, it reminds me of a time when we blah, 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 blah. And as I'm telling the story, the audio, I'm turning you on with sound, I'm turning you on with scent. And I don't know about you, but like that, I could use some of that. Like, take the penetration, give me some of that. Right? So I think typical couples can really learn from, and I mean, we all can. We can all learn from the way people have to use accommodations and actually use that in our day-to-day functioning.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of like forces you to be more mindful, and in a way can be more educational or enlightening.
Mm-hmm. Key word, like mindful. Mindfulness is grounding self using the senses, right? So yeah, you got it. The minute we start to introduce as soon as we introduce the opportunity for a person to utilize their senses to identify what they are, to identify how they actually cause their behavior differently, like we're doing mindfulness, we are bringing awareness to more than either what meets the eye or the routine that we're used to.
Yeah. And speaking of mindfulness, this is the perfect transition to my next question, which is, you, as I said, balance so many different things and are spinning a lot of plates at once in the roles of all this important work that you're doing. How do you stay mindful in all of that? How do you balance? How do you provide yourself self-care?
That's a really, really good question. This year has been tough for that because something that I would normally do for self-care is getting all my girlfriends together and like just being on the couch and talking to the TV more than it's talking, like just having like, I don't know, I guess a adult woman sleepover, right? Like that would normally be my way of getting all the touch that I need, all the talk that I need, all the stimulation, the emotional support in a group setting. And then we always like, we're college friends, so we like charge each other up. Like, did you change the world yet, bitch? No? Okay, get back out there. See you in 3 months, and do it again. That is, people need a bath. Like, that would stress me the hell out. I don't have time for a bath every night. So while some people might need like day-to-day self-care, all guards to be let loose, say the things, do the things, and then get back to it. Other things, though, that have sustained me during this time is my partner. We take a small amount of time. We have a toddler, a teenager, and a 20-year-old, and two moms. So like lots of moving parts. But if we can just get like, anywhere from like 15 minutes to sit and connect. And even if we are connecting about challenging things, we are connecting. I feel that grounding to the things that are important to me, my children and my family. And that usually allows me to frame my work. They're okay by what grounds you, which is my family.
Yeah. And speaking of your family, you and your partner have this company, the Royal Fetish Films, and in that you wear many hats. I mean, you've kind of been in all aspects of the pornography industry in some way or another. And how do you find it? How do you transition between those hats and how did playing all those different roles help you be better at the others?
And thank you for asking. In this time, we're a small company, so we've always had to kind of wear multiple hats at once, and that's like one of the beauties of a small company is that you learn everything, right? And then once you start at some point start hiring people, you know exactly what the fuck they should be doing, like that has always and no matter what business I have ever always needed to know whatever the lowest level of functioning is and the highest level of functioning, how those jobs are supposed to run, even if it meant like shadowing for a couple days, so that way. Same thing with this company is like, if we ever sent our stuff to be edited by someone else, we know exactly like from starting as a performer first and then going into directing. Like, I know that a director who has never had to hold a position in a particular way is not going to have the same kind of grace being cued into my body, not being cued into, may not say, hey, why don't we take a 5-minute break and kind of gather ourselves and, I bring that sensitivity because of all of the work that I do with people and also having been on the other side of the camera. King, for example, who has been or is a performer, you like your worst side in the whole world before it goes live, or is there anything about the footage that we should focus on that's not your favorite part? Like, those kind of considerations come from having the experience on the other end. Do I think that it's required? No. I don't think that you have to do every single aspect of porn to be able to be successful at porn. I think you have to be either sensitive to the fact that you don't know, or sensitive to the fact that there may be a learning curve for you when you're working with someone outside of your department.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that. And I know we're starting to come to the end of our time here, and I do want to mention that for all those who are listening or who are going to watch the IGTV video that this turns into, we are going to be having you and King, our podcast Carnal Theory, to go a lot deeper into a lot of the different things that you're working on, and I think that we are going to be talking about healthy masculinity at that point. No, we are not. I don't remember exactly what we're talking about.
That's okay. It'll probably come up.
Yes. I can't remember what month it's going to be. It's in 2 months, and I don't remember exactly what it is. But
That's okay. It's on the tip of my tongue, but you're not going to get me to mess that up on here.
I think it might be healthy masculinity. We'll see. And so, but anyways, we will be having a full podcast that's going to be a much more in-depth conversation where we will dig into the things that you're working on together as well as things you're individually working on. So I really recommend everyone keep an eye out for that. It's going to be coming up in about a month or so. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. There was a lot of
Thank
really
you.
cool information you just shared. And I know we just kind of grazed the tip of the iceberg, but it was really
No
interesting.
problem. Likewise, thank you so much for having me. Hello to all of your friends and fans and followers of the My Sex Bio. Thank you for having me on your platform.